I danced for hours and hours and hours. And it got to a point where I was like, yeah, I can't feel my feet. I'm done. Hi, I'm Lana Condor, and these are my firsts. If my understanding of what a serendipitous experience is, which might be totally wrong, but I was on the plane thinking about what opportunity or what project I would love to be a part of. And my first thought was, I would love to be in a romantic comedy. I quickly wrote that off because I don't really know any romantic comedies that want an Asian American as their lead. And then the day after, I got the audition for To All the Boys I've Loved Before. To me, that's serendipitous because it was almost like I wished it so bad. Like I wanted to be a part of a rom-com so badly. I believe in that though. I believe in just like manifesting things and wishing it up. First big career decision. I'm kind of gonna reword it. It was my first time where I got really, really close to a job. I believed that I had gotten it, and I think everyone else did. And then when I didn't get it, it was my first true letdown. And I was so upset by it for a long time. And then I got To All the Boys right after. Like, it's my first really solid learning experience of like, okay, honestly, you just have to let it go. So that was my first time, like, really like big decision to let something go. The first Netflix show that I binged, that's a really tricky question. I've binged The Office 1,000 times, Parks and Rec. Stranger Things, I binged The 100. You can binge it all. My first time traveling abroad, I went to Mexico. I went to Puerto Vallarta. It was awesome, and I was little, so I don't remember a lot, but I was there with my parents and my brother, so I'm assuming it was awesome. The first time I cooked a fancy meal, actually the first time I cooked for my longtime boyfriend, and I cooked Jamaican chicken curry. It took me, like, for real, maybe 4.5 hours. Like, I cooked the whole turkey and like disassembled it, put it into the stew. It was incredible, but it was one of those meals that like, by the time it's finished, you're not even hungry. That's how long it took. My first audition was a Nickelodeon show that I don't even know if it got made or whatnot, but it's called Future Shock. And it was my first audition ever, and I was super nervous, and I remember exactly what I was wearing. This really awesome leather peplum top and leather pants, and I remember exactly where it was, the address and everything in LA, and it was my first audition ever. I did not get it, but I got a call back, so I don't know, maybe they felt bad for me because since I was nervous. My first horseback riding experience was, I think when I was 6, I lived on Whidbey Island and I started taking horseback riding lessons, and I rode a horse named Babe. And actually he was a pony, and that was my first time on a horse. And then ever since, I've been riding ever since. And it's my true passion, and I love it so much. I was so little at the time though, like when I was 6, I was so little that I could ride the mini ponies. The barn that we were at had one little mini pony named Bowinkle. It's basically like a big dog. Like, that's how small it was, and I would always ride him around. The first time I was starstruck, I feel like this is a 2-part question. The first time was with David Beckham. I was shopping at Whole Foods, as one does, and I saw him, and so I stalked him through the Whole Foods. He totally could sense it, because then when he went up to the cash register, he like turned around and he was like, so like, do you want a picture? And I was like, yes! And now I get it, because like, I was recently stalked through a grocery store, and it takes a lot of balls to do the stalking of like, you're someone that you love, and then now I forever get starstruck by The Rock. Always. I tweet The Rock. I have a video of The Rock saying hi to me. That's like how big of a fan of I am. I think he knows that I like stalk him from like online. He could sing, he could dance, he's charming, he has a great physique. He's The Rock. My first memory of home, I was really little, I think 3 or 4. I was living in Chicago. I was one of those babies that was always up at night, so I'd like creep around at night. I had gotten up out of bed and I walked down the stairs and I fell asleep in the coat room closet. And my parents had like a party, and then everyone left, and my parents walked in to the coat room, and I was there on the floor, and it scared the heck out of them. And therefore I was scared. I was like, And that was my first memory. My first Christmas memory was in the same house in Andersonville in Chicago. I remember it vividly because my brother got one of those electric fire trucks with like the remotes, and I got my first dollhouse, and it was awesome. And I still have my dollhouse. I believed in Santa. I believed in Santa for a long time. I still believe in Santa. My first movie premiere, X-Men Apocalypse in London. That was crazy. The carpet was like a football field long. It was my first time to any of these events and my first premiere. It was also my first movie. And I was just auditioning on the slide, so none of my friends knew that I was doing that. But I would leave school all the time to audition, and I'd always say that I would have a doctor's appointment. It was actually great because once I actually booked X-Men, the principal was super happy because she thought that I was like really sick. But yeah, I was in high school and they called me and they asked me if I was around anyone. And I was like, what do you mean? Yes, I'm around everyone I've ever known in my life. This is high school. They're like, oh, well, would you mind finding a quiet place? So I just walked out of I walked out of the school and I was standing underneath the American flag. My agent at the time told me that I booked it. That was like the craziest experience of my life because I wasn't allowed to say anything until the press release came out. So I held that in for, I think, a couple months. I couldn't tell any of my friends. So I had to go right back into school knowing I just booked my first job that happened to be X-Men, one of the greatest franchises that I love. And I had to sit there and pretend like nothing happened. One of my greatest acting feats yet. The first time I fell in love with ballet was 6th grade, and I was dancing at the Joffrey Ballet School in New York. It was such an awesome time. It was really, really fun. And the way that you're taught in ballet, it's so meticulous and like everything is perfect. When I was growing up, that structure kind of really helped my work ethic now. And I think that's something that I loved. I loved doing partners, so that was always really fun and makes you feel kind of like a princess and you're being thrown around and lifted and twirling. The first time I came to LA was when I was a sophomore in high school. My dad and my mom and I moved from New York. He got a new job, and so I started my high school as a sophomore. So I transferred over, and that was my first time. The one question my parents said to me was like, are you sure you want to leave New York? Because New York is amazing. I was like, the one place I'll leave New York for is LA because of the weather. It's November, you guys, and it is incredibly hot. The first thing I thought when I woke up this morning was I was shooting the cover of Teen Vogue. You guys, you don't know how big of a deal this is for me because I've been reading Teen Vogue since like I could read, and I just absolutely love it. And this has been like the greatest opportunity. When I heard that I had the opportunity to shoot the cover, I freaked out, and then I called my mom and was like crying, so this is a really big deal. So yeah, that was my first thought. The first time I had a truly spooky experience, it was actually pretty recent. It was like within the last year. I was staying at the Hotel Roosevelt. It is kind of like notoriously like people say it's haunted, but I don't really know if that's true. Until now. I got in super late at night and I was really, really tired, and they had put me in this really beautiful hotel room. And I opened up the door, and I remember the first thing that hit me was that the hotel room was very, very cold, and it smelt kind of like moldy. And I was like, that's so weird because this is a really nice hotel. It's weird that this hotel room would smell, but I was like, whatever. So I like look behind the curtains and like look at everything and make sure everything looks good. Everything looked great, good. So then I went to bed, and throughout the night, I kept waking up feeling like there was someone, like a person standing watching me at the corner of my bed. And then I woke up the next morning and I was like, thank God, like I'm awake. Like maybe it was just like this scary things that happened in the night, whatever. So I ordered breakfast, and I'm sitting FaceTiming my boyfriend, and I look forward, and one of the paintings hung up on the wall was ripped in half. I distinctly remember that not being the case when I first checked it. And so I get up and I walk to the painting, and I kind of like look at the painting, and it is a depiction of a demon standing on skulls. What hotel decides that is their go-to artwork? And I almost touched it to like put it back up, and I was like, wait, just in case, I'm not gonna touch it, so I didn't touch it. But I asked my friend who was staying at the hotel room if I could stay in her room because I was so scared. So I stayed in her room that very night. Like every hour, I would wake up because I would think I would hear footsteps going into the bathroom. But every single time I would look over and she would be in her bed. So needless to say, I checked out at like literally 4 a.m. and I was going to a shoot and I was like, that's it. Nope, I'm good. This is the first time I was like hours early to a shoot because I could not be a part of it. So I genuinely, like that scared the living crap out of me.